Hi everyone, a quick video today on rejections from the community fund from the National Lottery. So what I've got for you today is an example of a rejection and we're going to see about how we can correct that. So I'm going to talk to you about this project. So it is a project for men's mental health, doing a arts activity. And you can see here where it says why we cannot fund your project, that they have given some feedback, which is really useful. So we can take that feedback and then we can look at the application again and resubmit. So you can see from the feedback that it says that basically they've got a lot of projects to fund, and of course there's lots of worthwhile projects, as they say. So they can only support a certain amount of funding to give away. So that means it's very competitive. And I've noticed that lately it's become a lot more competitive. I do think because of the cost of living crisis and the way COVID's been, there's been a lot more drive towards people starting CICs. And I think there's just word has spread, basically. So it says here, we felt that the costs of the sessional worker and mentor, who is also a director of the organisation, were higher than we'd usually expect. Applications are most likely to be successful if we can see that they are effective to use of public funds and represent good value for money. So basically they want to, if you decide to reapply, it says, please clarify how you worked out the costs. And they suggest obtaining 3 quotes from each item. And then that ensures then that you can get value for money. So we've got a few things to think about there, haven't we? So one, we want to look at getting 3 costs so we can justify what the prices are that we're putting down. And also because it says that they think that the sessional worker was a bit higher, and they've mentioned they're mentioning that, and also he is a director. So you just want to be able to justify why you are hiring somebody that's also a director to be the sessional worker. So I'd say here in this case it's just all about detail. So let's jump over to the application. I've already refilled it in so we can have a look. So here we are. So this is a project for 10,000 is what we're asking for, and there's another couple of thousand coming in for this project. So here we go, here's the application form. So you can see I've got all the items listed. So if we start at the top, arts materials. So what I've done is I've said that we've used comparison sites. So don't just write, arts materials as your item. Put detail of how you've gained the quotes, how many quotes you've got, have you used comparison sites, and just justify it all. So what I've done here is I've said that basically we've used comparison sites, we've made itemised lists, so if we looked at Amazon, and we have made sure that we are only covering sort of minimal materials, but in this project they only need to do a small amount of materials because actually most of it's going to be covered by the ceramic studio that we're hiring. So because the ceramic studio here is another CIC, and we're going to do 12 sessions there, and they charge £100 each. Okay, so that is going to be 1,200. So again, I've just justified why we've chosen that particular one. Now this is actually the only one in the town, and it's a community CIC, so it's actually really competitive. If you were to go to like a more of a private, a ceramic studio, it'd be a lot more. So I've written that, okay? And I've said detailed. I've broken it down. So instead of just putting 12,000, I've said it's £100 a session, and I've said what it includes. So it's the room hire, it's the kiln hire, it's glazing and equipment. So I've really broken it down. Also, they're insured. I've just written that as well. So then I've got here social media management awareness. So this is breaking down. So instead of putting what was on the last form is the sessional worker just kind of like was a bulk figure. And that used to be fine with the Arts Council. I used to do projects with like a bulk figure and it wasn't an issue, but I think things are more competitive now. So they like you to actually break it down. So say you are doing most of the work for this project. Instead of saying, right, £9,000 is going to be the work I'm going to do as a project manager, you've got to break it down. So do a couple of grand for your social media, another couple of grand for like the website design, then you've got your delivery and another few grand. And so you just break it down. So you can still pay yourself as one person, but just break it down so they've got that detail, okay? What I've done here is with social media management, because this is going to have a element because the mental health project is an awareness raising. So I've put in here Facebook ads. So I've put a budget, £50 for the Facebook ads. And then I've said that basically the rest of the cost is based on a quote that I've received. And I've got several quotes. And this is going to be for the person who's going to do the social media to manage the posts and create the content. Okay. So I've had 3 quotes and I've just picked the best quote. So that could be you, or it could be like your CIC or another company that you're using for that service. Accountants fees, I've got a quote for £600 from Simply Business. And now quite often, especially with Simply Business, who I've used before, they don't actually use all of that 600. It's just like a quote. So say it comes out as less. What I would do is just speak to your accountant, because what I would do is speak to your accountant, because technically you've also had some administration yourself to get your accounts ready to go to them. So say there's a surplus, I think it's totally justifiable that you actually pay yourself that surplus and say, well, I got my accounts ready, so I did the administration, which was to hand it over to the accountant, because there is still some work there for you. So don't worry if a quote comes out as less, as long as you can justify it, and you can also email them and tell them if you're changing anything. If you don't use something in the budget, like an amount of money, then technically you have to pay it to them back. Right, so let's look at a zine book printing and production. So again, I've broken that down. So MixSam is who we're going to use for printing. They're very competitive online, so I've got their cost, £75. And then I've got the graphic designer cost there for making it. So, and then we've got project manager, so exhibition installation and curation. So I put there the person who is actually a director, and that person I put there. I've also written, to justify paying him £200 a day, I've written there, hang on a second, I'll just get to it, that I've used the pay guidance, sorry, just correct that, the pay guidance from the Artist Union, which is £200 a day, depending on your level of experience as an artist. This person hasn't got a lot of experience, fresh projects, so we'll start at the bottom with £200 a day. So there you see we've justified it, so I can't really say anything to that. Then we've got the workshops. So we've got 26 sessions, so that'd be £2,600. Art teaching, so it's based on £100 for a session, because it's only like a half-day session. And I checked, and most of the other local like youth clubs and stuff usually pay £100 for a sessional worker, so that's quite standard in my area. It's quite easy for you to get quotes on that. And again, I put in there, checked Artists Union. So if you think £100 per half a day, it's like £200 for a day, which is what the Artists Union say. Then I've also written, because they mentioned about him being a director, I just wanted to actually justify that. So what I've said is, because this is a male ceramics project, he's actually the only one in this area, and because he's actually the founder of the project, he's come up with this idea, he's designed the project. So I've actually said the words, this justifies his hiring. So you just got to justify it. And I've also said there, we've consulted the lottery staff on funding, because I phoned them this morning and chatted to them about that. So that's a good thing if you speak to them. Then we've got an extra sessional worker. Okay, so again, same again, £100. And that person is going to be a different person that's going to be delivering a different element of the work at the sessions. All right. So I hope that makes it really clear. I think this is a really good project. I think it's a really strong project. And I think now that we've broken it down and given it all that extra detail, I'd say that's going to be, hopefully will go through. But what I'll do is I will update and put in the comments section, when we get the results through, I'll actually put that on this video and add it on later, so you can see whether this did get through or whether we had any other feedback, because they can sometimes go back with other feedback, or they might just turn it down and say everything's great, but we just had other projects that we liked better to fund. So it's a competitive situation, but more often than not, you know, especially with a new project, get knocked down a couple of times, and then usually, you know, you correct those things and you usually get it. Okay, it's all a learning curve. Any questions, jump over in the chat on my website, kex.co.uk.